Okay, good evening, everybody. It's Pesach time. So I did get the books with the list of the products, but after I give a few introductions, we're not going to really have to go through every single alphabetical list. But I just want to say a few very important things when it comes to Pesach and products. There is halacha, there is strictness, there's chumrah, there's tradition, in other words, what was done in parents' homes, if they were religious. As I mentioned, every year, probably, if everybody would follow what their parents do, a lot of them would be eating McDonald's at the night of the Seder. If they did the Bali Tshuva, that's what they would do, what the parents would be doing. So one thing is definitely, when it comes to Pesach, yes, the Arizal writes that whoever is super meticulous in being very careful with chametz is guaranteed not to sin a whole year. Chassidim, they're very, very meticulous in the laws of Pesach. But there's other things that are more important to keep in mind. There is halacha, and then there's, like you said before, custom and chumrah. That is a strictness. It's not the letter of the law. But if people, by going crazy with chumras, are going to cause shalom bayis issue, fights in the family, or it's going to cause somebody to get angry at a family member, which according to all opinions, anger is biblically forbidden and it's likened to idol worshiping. So if you're going to be strict when it comes to Pesach at the expense of, because of that, getting into a fight with the family or, or getting angry and things like that, then you're losing infinitely more than you're gaining. So people have to know, number one, when it comes to Pesach, especially when it comes to products, people have to pick a level of observance that they want to pick. Now, again, many times the tradition by Pesach is this is what your parents did and this is what we do, therefore what we do. But our grandparents didn't have the accessibilities to things that we have today, which are actually not a problem. So again, I'm just mentioning what somebody wants to do. They should make sure that all the family members are on the same page. And definitely the husband and wife have to be on the same page of what customs they're going to be accepting and what customs they're not at there yet. Each one should speak to their mashpia or their rav to find out, who knows them, to find out where they should be standing when it comes to the dinim of Pesach. That's number one. Because again, if one spouse is much more ahead than the other spouse, and by them running ahead, the other spouse is going to get angry and it's because of a fight, and Pesach is going to cause them become into one hated fighting Pesach, then you're losing much more, infinitely more than you're gaining. That's one thing I want to mention. Another thing I want to mention is people always have this expression, Chabad custom. Chabad custom is not to eat this, and Chabad custom is to eat this, and not to eat this, and not to eat this. The rule, what makes Chabad custom? What makes Chabad custom, the Rebbe emphasized many times, either what it says in Sefer HaMinhagim, which is the customs of Chabad written by the Rebbes, or what the Rabbeim write in letters, or what it says in Ayin Yom, or things like that. Then that becomes a minhag Chabad. To come along with statements that Chabad doesn't eat dairy on Pesach is 100% incorrect. To say that Chabad doesn't use oil on Pesach is 100,000,000% not correct. People have to know when it says there are certain things, I'll mention in a minute, what the Rebbe writes we don't use, and what the Tzemach Tzedek and different, the Rabbeim write that we don't use. For instance, in Chabad, we don't use, the Rebbe writes, we don't use cinnamon, we don't use ginger, we don't use radishes, we don't use cloves. You have to use some people do it in cooking. The Rebbe says we don't eat cloves. We don't eat gebrocks, meaning we're very meticulous that the matzah shouldn't get wet, except the last day of Pesach when we're meticulous, it should get wet. Those are, or another thing that one of the rabbis said, that we don't drink alcohol on Pesach. Even kosher Pesach alcohol, it's Chabad custom, that's brought down from the rabbis, that we don't drink whiskey. That means not wine, it's also alcohol. But we don't drink kosher Pesach vodka, kosher Pesach zivitz, kosher Pesach liqueur. Chabad custom is we don't eat. One of the reasons for that, it's interesting just to show how spiritually the things are. One reason for that is because we know matzah, the first night of matzah, is the food of healing, of belief. Second night matzah is the food of asvos, of healing. One of the rabbis said that it's known that when you're taking medication, you don't drink alcohol. Alcohol doesn't go well with medication. So this is the spiritual word that they said, that because matzah is healing, and therefore we don't eat, they drink alcohol, but those are things from the Rebbe, from the Rabbeim. To come along and say that Chabad doesn't eat dairy on Pesach is wrong. Chabad doesn't use oil on Pesach is wrong. Chabad doesn't use this on Pesach is wrong. Even to say that Chabad doesn't use sugar on Pesach in its natural state is wrong. If somebody wants to cook over the sugar, fine. But to come along with people saying statements that it's a Chabad custom to do certain things, that is 100% incorrect. It's wrong. Just like I'm going to bring it up now, just like there's a very famous minhag and is becoming more popular. There's something called the Shabbos after Pesach. There's something called a shlisel challah. Shlisel challah means a key. Either you put a key in the challah, you bake a challah in the shape of a key, whatever. It became a very big thing, and some people are now starting to say it's a minhag Chabad. It is not a minhag Chabad. People want to do it, that's fine. But don't say it's a Chabad custom when it's not. Okay? Now, one thing before we go into products and before we go into all these things, I just want to mention a few more things. Another thing, for instance, halacha says we don't eat kidney. It's Ashkenazi Jews don't eat kidneys, legumes. So we don't eat rice, we don't eat peas, we don't eat beans, we don't eat anything of the legume family. Corn, all those things are kidneys. And we said we don't get the matzah wet. But for a sick person, kidneys is allowed. So a lot of the times the baby formulas have soy in it. It's a soy, like isomil soy. As long as there's a hechsher on it during the year, it is kidneys. A baby who needs formula is allowed. It has a din of a sick person. So they're allowed to use isomil or any of the soy milks that have a hechsher year round. It doesn't have a hechsher year round. You can't use it year round anyway. But they have to be kept separately. You wash them in the bathroom sink, not in the kitchen sink. You put it in a bag. You basically keep it completely separate. Another thing I want to mention, which is a very big issue, and I'm not telling you what the solution is now, but one thing I definitely want to say, and that is that many times people have relatives, which are invited to go to their relatives for Pesach. And they're religious, but they may not have the same standard of kashrus for Pesach that you have. And now the family is inviting you to come. One of the spouses wants to go. One of the spouses says, no, they're not up to our standard of Pesach. And all that happens from that is a fight, which again is biblically forbidden. According to all opinions, it's biblically forbidden. So in those cases, instead of fighting, they should speak to their mashpia, explain to them the situation, or speak to the Rav, and based on the Rav's decision, which is halacha with common sense, then the Rav or the mashpia will tell you what you should be doing or not be doing. I'll give you an example. There is a minhag brought down in halacha and it's questionable if this custom applies today or not. There was a custom, there is a custom. Let's say a fork or a knife fall on the floor during Pesach. They fall down on the kitchen. The kids are handling it. They fall down on the kitchen floor. Many people have a minhag, and a lot of people have a custom. They won't use that fork or knife for the rest of Pesach. They'll just put it away until after Pesach. Why is it? Because maybe there was some chametz on the floor, and maybe some chametz became attached to it. And now, according to halacha, even strict halacha, all you have to do is wash it off in cold water, and you can use it 100% according to halacha. There are people that have this chumrah. Like I said, there's no end to the chumrah on Pesach. So I once had a case that a woman called me in the middle of Chol Hamoed, crying, and she said, I have a terrible issue. My husband, who was nowhere near that level of this chumrah, he was told by somebody that forks and knives or spoons, whatever, falls on the floor, you put it away, you don't use it until Pesach. Then a bunch of little kids in the house. After a short period of time, they were left with no forks, spoons, and knives. They were left with nothing. Or one or two cutlery, whatever. And the husband was demanding from the wife to invite guests. And he refused her to use plastic. The husband said, I don't want you having guests, you have to serve cutlery. Not plastic. So the wife is calling me up. I don't know what to do. Because my husband put away all the cutlery that I have. There's no cutlery left. He's screaming at me to invite guests, but he's not letting me use plastic. So what in the world am I supposed to be doing? So the answer to that question is, if that's what the husband wants, then she washes the cutlery and she could use them. Because anyway, today, with our floors that are so clean, it's not like the olden days, there was dirt on the floor and who knows what was on the floor. Today, we have very spotlessly clean floors, especially before Pesach. So I'm not saying you shouldn't have that chumrah. All I'm saying, if somebody has that chumrah, it's something they all have to be able to tolerate and handle without getting into fights. Okay, now there's two things. I'm not going into the halachic reasons for it. Eggs and milk have to be from milk that was milked before Pesach and eggs that were laid before Pesach. There's a lot of halachic. This is halacha, not this is halacha. That milk, in order to have milk on Pesach, it has to be milked before Pesach. Eggs have to be eggs that were laid before Pesach. Therefore, there is a old Yiddish custom that before Pesach, you buy enough milk for Pesach and you buy enough eggs for Pesach. Okay. And many people buy produce before Pesach, because they don't want to go into the store with chametz in the store and who knows who touched the produce. According to halacha, if you run out of produce during Pesach, you're allowed to go into a supermarket.
No, you don't want
it. And you're allowed to buy produce. You want to go to a kosher market where there's no chametz, fine, it's even better. But there's nothing wrong halachically going into a store and buying produce during Chol Hamoed. Now, with eggs and milk, generally speaking, milk, even those people that don't keep Chol Yisrael year round should definitely keep only Chol Yisrael for Pesach. Because in milk, there's a lot of additives that might not be 100% kosher to Pesach. So Chol Yisrael milk has a hechsher, that there's nothing in it before Pesach. Now, the milk has to be milked before Pesach. The eggs have to be laid before Pesach. That doesn't mean you can't buy milk during Chol Hamoed. For instance, all the Chol Yisrael milk that you go to the kosher markets and buy before Pesach, during Pesach, even the milk that comes in during Pesach was milked before Pesach. They just didn't bring it into the store yet. So all the Chol Yisrael is reliable that it was all milked before Pesach. So if you run out of milk during Pesach, or you don't have enough refrigerator space to buy enough milk, You're definitely allowed to buy Chol Yisrael milk during Pesach. All the kosher markets that sell eggs, you're allowed to go during Pesach and buy eggs because those eggs they got in or definitely were laid before Pesach, so it's not an issue with that. Okay, those are general agdomas. So now I'm going to go through in alphabetical order like we always do. And let me give a few more introductions. Things that have a reliable hechsher for Pesach, you're allowed to use it. If they have a reliable hechsher for Pesach, you're allowed to use it. Some people are machmir that they only make no processed foods. They only make their own food. They make their own wine, in fact, and they make their own everything they make themselves. That's fine. I'm not saying it's not a great thing. It's a chumrah that people have. Halachically, anything that has a proper hechsher, that the lists say are kosher lePesach, even without any hechsher sometimes, and we'll see the examples. So then there's no problem with using them on Pesach. Okay? If people want to be, and today, it's remarkable. Today, you can walk into a kosher market. There isn't a thing that you can't get that's kosher lePesach. There isn't. You can have even kosher lePesach pizza. Can you imagine? Kosher, as if people can't live 8 days without pizza. But you're allowed to, there's everything kosher lePesach. I'm not saying you should buy it. If you want to be more careful, you buy things that are not problems at all, rather than things. But again, anything that has a proper kosher lePesach hechsher, if you want, you can use it on Pesach. Okay, I'm not going into medications today because the lists are out already, but today you can get online, you can see whatever you want. Okay, I'm just going through now. I hope everybody knows their ABC because every year when I teach the class, somebody comes up with a question that's not in alphabetical order. So I don't have to know the alphabet. I have it in the book, follow the A's and then the B's. So we'll figure out in alphabetical order what needs to be done. Okay, air fresheners, all the air fresheners are good. Alcohol, only isopropyl alcohol, all the isopropyl, like the regular rubbing alcohol is kosher lePesach. One more thing I do want to say, by the way. All these things that we're telling you are kosher lePesach, you must have new containers because the containers that you had year round around the chametz, you shouldn't be using for Pesach. Okay? So whatever we're saying here is good, even though it's good year round, you must have new bottles, new containers, or whatever it is for Pesach. Like baby bottles even. You can't use the baby bottles you use during the year. You need to get special baby bottles for Pesach. Okay. Almond milk is kidneys. Again, okay. Aluminum foil and pans. All the uncoated, the simple aluminum foil pans, aluminum foil, the aluminum pans. If there's no coating on it or releasing agent, most of them don't have it. So all of them are 100% kosher lePesach. Aluminum disposal, okay, same thing. Baby food, baby formula, generally speaking, we said the OU ones that have kidneys or this, generally speaking, they're all good. Like the isomil liquids and powders is good. The Kirkland OU, but it must have an OU on all the baby formulas. Baby cereal is mamish chametz. So therefore, if you want to use baby cereal, if you don't want to make your own, then you have to actually buy a kosher for Pesach company. All baby oil, if it's pure, is good. Baby ointment, which is a cream, according to the OU, they're all good. Baby powder, all talcum powders like Johnson, as long as it doesn't say oat flour in the ingredients. You have to check, because a lot of times the talcum powders have an oat flour in it, which is mamish chametz. But it's regular talcum powder, the baby powder, that doesn't have, you have to check the ingredients to make sure there's no oat flour, then it's 100% good. Baby wipes are all good if there's no alcohol in it. All bags, paper bags, plastic bags are all good without any hechsher. Baking soda, not baking powder. Baking powder is real chametz unless if you find a baking powder with the hechsher for Pesach. But baking soda is as long as it's the pure bicarbonate, like and Arm and Hammer or any other company. Obviously, you need to use a new container. Balloons, if they don't have power, generally speaking, there's a custom. You don't blow up balloons on Pesach because it's still coming into your mouth. You don't know what's there. Band-aids are all good. Beverages like this. All beverages need a proper hechsher for Pesach. Okay, because sometimes they put corn syrup in it, which is kitnius. You have to just make sure that it's a kosher Pesach drink, juices, and the thing like that. Okay, all bleach is good. All body wash is good. All candles are good. Animal food, cat food, dog food, you're going to have to look at the list yourself. Charcoal briquettes, if you want to make a barbecue during Pesach, but then you need a separate grill for Pesach. It's impossible to kosher a year-round grill for Pesach. It's just impossible. So then you need to, but if you want to if you have a Pesach grill, you want to make a barbecue, all the barbecue briquettes are good. Cheesecloth is all good. All the cleansers like Ajax, the powder cleansers are all good. Cocoa powder, people like to bake. So like, for instance, the Hershey's 100% pure cocoa is 100% good. There's no problem with it at all. Not only Hershey's, any 100% pure cocoa with no additives is 100% good for Pesach. Coconut milk must have a hechsher for Pesach. People that sometimes drink coconut milk, that must have a hechsher for Pesach. Okay, coffee. Coffee is like this. The bigger problem with coffee is actually the decaf coffees because they put dextrose in that could be kitnius or chametz. So coffees, for instance, if it's a plain whole bean, if you want to make your own coffee with your own separate coffee machine for Pesach, if it's regular, non-flavored, not decaffeinated, do not need a special hechsher for Pesach. The grinder has to be clean and preferably new. Instant coffee. Okay, again, regular unflavored. Folgers is good. Nescafe Choice, Taster's Choice is good. I'm not going to go through the whole list. But for instance, decaffeinated Folgers, decaf OU is good. I'll go take the questions later. Okay, medications are not contact lenses are all good. Cooking spray must have a star K on it or an OU for Pesach. Contact lenses solution are good. Lipstick, you have to go on the list to look at which ones are kosher with Pesach. Some crayons, by the way, it's interesting. Some crayons, the Crayola dough, glitter dots, easy peel crayon pencils, they have wheat in it and should not be used for Pesach. But regular, normal crayons are good for Pesach. The question is, are you allowed to use them Chol Hamoed? All crockpot liners are kosher with Pesach. Plastic and styrofoam cups are all good for Pesach. Plastic or styrofoam, they're all good. All cutlery, plastic cutlery is 100% good. Dental floss, a lot of people, especially matzah, get stuck in your teeth. All the unflavored brands are good. Waxed, doesn't matter if they're waxed or unwaxed, but not flavored. You can't get the mint one You have to use unflavored dental floss for Pesach. All powder and solid stick deodorants are good for Pesach. Detergents, clothes detergents, in case you want to wash during Chol if you're allowed to. Basically, Ajax is good, Tide is good, All is good, Fab is good, Windex is good. I mean, most of these big companies are good. Dish detergent, okay. I'm doing washing dishes, like Ivory, Ajax, all the way to have an OU, Cascade OU, Palmolive, Dawn, all those that have an OU during the year are kosher to use from Pesach. And I want to tell you a little secret. They're just as kosher as the kosher ones, and they work better and they're much cheaper. Okay, diapers are good. Dried fruits must have a hechsher for Pesach, because a lot of times they dry fruits actually using flour. Even during the year, by the way, the kashrus organizations say you have to be very careful with dried fruit, because sometimes they dry fruits, the companies dry fruits in an oven, and you don't know what else is in the oven at the same time. That could be trait from the oven at the same time. So generally speaking, even during the year, it must have a hechsher. But as far as Pesach goes, it must have a hechsher for Pesach. Eggs we spoke about. Eye drops, they're all good. Eyeshadow, eyeliner is all good. Fabric softener is good. Face powder is good. Fish. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about fish. Ideally, you should buy fish in a kosher market. Okay, but there's a hechsher. Besides the fact, making sure that it's taka kosher fish. But there are other issues when it comes to Pesach that, again, people need to be, people are more careful about. For instance, the knives they use. You go to Ralph's or Vaughn's or whatever, and you want to order a fish, and you see the fish, and you see the scales, and you see it's fine, but they're using their chametz stick knives, and they're using their chametz stick cutting boards, and they're using the counters, and who knows what the guy's eating while he's doing it. So there's no question that for Pesach, for sure, you need to buy fish, preferably in a kosher market. If you don't have a kosher market, let's say you live not in LA or our areas, you live in Yehupitzville, so then the best thing is you bring your own cutting board. You have to work it out with the store if they agree to it. You bring your own knife, you bring your own cutting board, you put down paper. And if the guy fillets it, you see the fish with the scales, and then the guy fillets it with your knife and your cutting board and your paper, then halachically there's nothing wrong with it, because there's no chametz during the year. Now, by the way, just let's say somebody bought fish during the year, and they have it in their freezer, packed away. So now the question, many times people ask, can I use it for Pesach? But I bought it during the year. The answer is really not, because you don't know what the counters were like, what the knives were like, and what they were doing with it. They don't care during the year. Unless if you can guarantee and ascertain from the store that they know for sure it was kosher Pesach a whole year. But that's rare for that to happen. So stuff that you have in the freezer, cut chicken, cut fish, or things like that you bought during the year should not be used during Pesach. You should just put it away and make sure you get kosher Pesach stuff. Okay, raw fish, okay. Dried fruit we spoke about. Okay, furniture polish is good. All garbage bags are good. Now, garlic. Again, people say there's a Chabad custom, we don't use garlic. That is not true. It doesn't say anywhere in Chabad customs they don't use garlic. A lot of people don't use garlic on Pesach. It has nothing to do with Chabad. And a lot of commentaries write, we don't even know the reason why there was such a custom. Some people say that the farmers years ago used to dip their bread lunchtime into the garlic to give it some taste. So therefore, there might be breadcrumbs in the garlic. I'm not saying to use it. I'm not saying not to use it. One thing I am definitely saying, you can't say it's a Chabad minhag not to use garlic. There are a lot of people that don't use garlic. They want to use garlic, they can use garlic. They don't want to, they shouldn't. Okay, glass cleaners are good. Gloves, you should get without the powder inside. The non-powdered gloves. If it doesn't say on the label if it's powdered or not, so what you could really do is turn it inside out and rub it on it before Pesach, and rub it on dark clothing. If it comes out white on the dark clothing, you know it's powdered. But you shouldn't get gloves that have powdered because it could be kidneys, it could be chametz. Okay, hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizers that don't use alcohol or ethanol in the ingredients. Okay, if it only says it uses isopropyl alcohol, which is rubbing alcohol, then it's good. Okay. Okay, ice. Sometimes you want to buy ice from a store, big container of ice. All the plain ice that you buy in the store that's not flavored, push it to simple ice. You go to the supermarket, you buy whatever those big bags of ice. Halachically, there's no problem with it whatsoever. Okay. Now, insect sprays are not homistic, but rodent traps, like mice traps or rat traps, a lot of them have in the food, they put in the food there to trap the rat there. Those may have chametz in it, in the food that's in the trap, and therefore you have to put them away before Pesach. You can't use those traps in Pesach. Okay. Juice, we said that you should get juice. I don't want to get into all the details. You should get juice with extra on it. Many people have a custom, they make their own juice. They don't even buy juice in a store. I mean, the Kosher organizations say, for instance, Tropicana orange juice is 100% good without any issue. The plain orange juice. But again, in many places, people made their own lemon juice and their own orange juice and things like that. Okay. Lactate might be chametz, so you should stay away from lactate. If somebody must have it for medical reason, they should ask her help. Okay, meat, again, meat in the stores when it comes Pesach time, the kosher Pesach. Obviously, if the store has a hashkacha. Meat that you had during the year, you should not necessarily think it's kosher Pesach, because again, you don't know what the stores were using at that time. Okay, milk, we spoke about that it needs to be for milk before Pesach. Okay, mouthwash is like this. All the mouthwash I'm talking about now. All the Colgate, the Listerine, Coolman, Total Care Zero, Ultra Clean, Zero Alcohol, Scope, Tom's of Maine, and some of the books, right, some of the Crest are good, but these for sure, the books are writing is good. I didn't get all the lists yet to tell you more details about that. All napkins are good. Okay, napkins, some of the books write, no, you have to use kosher Pesach napkin. You don't have to. All the simple napkins are good for Pesach. Now, some people have a minhag, they'll only use white napkins during Pesach. I'm talking about paper napkins. Why? I don't know. Because they think that colored napkins have more things in it than the white napkins do. But little they know that white napkins are also colored white. So if it can be colored green or pink or blue or yellow, it's colored white also. So there's really no difference in that aspect between those things. Okay, nuts. Okay, now all raw. I'm reading from basically all the lists say the same thing. This one, all raw, whole, chopped pieces and nut meal almonds, walnuts, pine nuts. If it doesn't have BHA or BHT or any other additives, are kosher lepesach. But sometimes, a lot of things they write processed in a facility that may have. If you have that on it, you should not buy it for Pesach. Obviously, today they sell in the markets shelled nuts with the hechsher for Pesach. A lot of people like to do their own. Sometimes they have ground nuts with the proper hechsher. Halachically, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Oil must have a proper hechsher for Pesach. Now, if it's extra olive oil, I'm talking about now, extra virgin olive oil that's not extra mild and extra light, those need a hechsher for Pesach. All the regular extra virgin olive oil, if it has a hechsher year round, is good for Pesach. All the other oils, if you want to use almond oil, cottonseed oil, there are opinions you'll hear that say cottonseed oil might be kitnius. Quantity Alter Rebbe, it's definitely not kitnius. In America, for sure, they hold it's not kitnius. Some people are Tzrola Machmir, but technically, by the way, it's interesting. If you go to the stores and you see in the Pesach, kosher Pesach, vegetable oil, and then you see cottonseed oil, two different containers. If you look in the ingredients of the vegetable oil, what is the ingredient? One ingredient, cottonseed oil. So vegetable oils, most of them are really cottonseed oil anyway. But you could buy any proper hechsher, if you're using oil, any proper oil that has a hechsher for Pesach, you're allowed to use on Pesach. Oven cleaners like Easy Off and Shakli are good to be used during Pesach or before Pesach. Paper bakeware, like cupcake holders and all that, you must have an OU or star K, then it's good. Now, paper cups is like this: styrofoam, plastic, cardboard. They bring down over here, a bunch of them have OU on them. The cups that have an OU on them are kosher lepesach. I'm talking about the cold, all the paper cups. Freezer paper, if it has an OU, it's good. Pan lining paper with an OU, like Reynolds, is good. Paper plates, again, it's preferable to use plastic or styrofoam, better than paper. I'm not saying the paper is not good. A lot of the paper plates are coated with the thin plastic, so it's again good. The question with the paper plates, the regular thin, normal white paper or whatever color they're, paper plates, they have a starch in it. It could be cornstarch, which it usually is. It could be maybe a wheat starch. The problem, even then, it's not really a big halachic problem. But again, if you can get styrofoam plates or paper or plastic plates, is better. The star case says Pesach certification is required for all paper plates and bowls, because of the starch. But if you're going to be using plastic or styrofoam, they're all good. Now, paper towel, all you're going to read in some of the books, some of them are not good. The bottom line is paper towel is good. They write like this: the first 3 sheets of a new roll. Obviously, you need to get a new roll for Pesach. The first 3 sheets of the roll, and the last sheet might have a kitnius glue in it or starch in it. Don't use it with hot food. If you have the half sheets one, the half sheet paper towel, The first four and the last two. Okay, but after you take away the initial, and then even that, you cannot use it for hot food because it might have kidneys. If you want to clean a counter with it, there's no question any of it is good to use. Plastic containers are all good. Plastic plates are good. Plastic bags are good. Now, again, raisins, for instance, you really should go with actually, you have to check it, make sure there's no oil in the ingredients. Then it might be a problem. You can live without the raisins for a week. Rubber gloves, like we said before, any uncoated, like latex, Rubbermaid. Salt, the coarse kosher salt, according to all the kashrus organizations, the middle paper towels today can be used with hot. If you don't want to, you don't have to. They all writing there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, even with hot food. Some people don't want to. That's their business. I'm talking halachically, it's not an issue. Now, I wanted to say, salt. Iodized salt, meaning basically the thin salt, not the kosher, the thick salt. The kosher thick salt, kosher salt is good for Pesach, even if it doesn't say kosher Pesach on it. The Morton salt that's iodized, or any company which is iodized, must have an OUP or star KP or a hechsher, whatever, Geffen, whatever the proper companies with the proper hechsher. Because again, in the iodizing process, they use dextrose that might be an issue. Okay, salt we discussed, table salt. Okay, all sandwich bags are good, all sanitizers are good. Scouring pads and powders. Again, not the scouring pads that have the detergent on it already. Those you should get, but generally speaking, all the powders are good. Seltzer, they write here unflavored and no citrates in the ingredients. If it's flavored, you must have extra for Pesach. Shampoo and conditioners, most of the main companies are good. Some of the books say you never need a hechsher on it anyway. Shelving paper, no, that's something else. Silver polish, all the kosher brands, and like Goddard's, Haggerty, Wyman, Wrights, they all have an OU, they're good for Pesach. Bars of soap are all good for Pesach. Soda, again, soda you must get, if you're buying soda, you must get it with a Pesach. Spices, the Morton salt substitute might not be good. I don't see salt, 1 second. Again, I don't see it on this list. The other list I don't have yet. Silver candlesticks that were used in Shabbat, we discussed that last week. Okay, okay. Spices, if you want to use spices on Pesach, again, I was mentioned before, we don't use cinnamon, ginger, or cloves or things like that. But if you want to buy radishes, also we don't use on Pesach. If you want to buy spices, you should buy with the proper hechsher for Pesach. We live in communities where you can get it without any problem. Okay, steel sternos are all good, by the way. All plastic straws are good. All styrofoam products are good. Sweeteners, the instead of sugar, those must have a proper hechsher for Pesach. What's interesting, they did not talk here about sugar, but the regular white granulated sugar is no problem for Pesach. You don't have to buy the ones with the hechsher for Pesach, like C&H or all those. The plain white granulated sugar is 100% good for Pesach. If you want to use, again, the diet one, I mean, the sugar-free ones and all those stuff, those must have extra for Pesach. Like, I'll give you an example. Blend is not good for Pesach. Sweet and low must have extra for Pesach. A lot of them, they're not kosher le Pesach. They need a proper hechsher. All tablecloths are kosher le Pesach. I mean, the new ones. Last week we discussed that even if you wash your chomistic ones up, then it's good. Talcum powder is good, but you have to keep in mind. Though, that sometimes it's cornstarch in it, which is kitnius, which means that if you are going to put talcum powder, cornstarch, which is kitnius, that we learned you're allowed to benefit from it. But if you're going to put talcum powder, cornstarch powder on your body, you must make sure to wash your hands in the bathroom sink before you go into the kitchen and do things. Okay, what are we up to here? Okay, of course, we said tea bags. If it has a hefsher for Pesach, it's good. The regular unflavored, non-herbal, and not decaf are good. Okay, whether they have Lipton and Sweet Dutchney, I mean, they have millions of examples. I'm not going to read through the whole list. So there's a lot of these things. Tea bags, the best thing, either tea bags with a hechsher, like he says, regular tea bags that are unflavored, not decaffeinated, have no fillers, like chicory, may be used on Pesach without special certification. Right, some plain tea bags contain grapeseed extract. If that is not even kosher a whole year. Okay, all bathroom tissues are good. All toothbrushes, new ones. You must have new. You have to have all new toothbrushes and new toothpaste for Pesach, because you can't use the same one that you did during the year. Toothpaste, again, Aim, Colgate, Close Up, Pepsodent, Ultra Bright. The Crest in all the years, most of them were problematic. Some of them were good, but if you can stay with Aim, Colgate, Close Up, Pepsodent, Ultra Bright, is much better. All unflavored toothpicks are good. Now, when it comes to fruits and vegetables, many people have a minhag, many people have a custom that they will only use on Pesach fruits and vegetables that you could peel. That you can peel. Why is that? There's a few reasons for that. Number one, a lot of them are sprayed. I mean, today they have pesticides. Not that it's a big question, because halachically, if you're going to wash off the fruit properly, it's not an issue. But we don't know. Basically people are strict. Plus, people are in the supermarket, picking fruits and vegetables, and you're going to go in there and they might touch chametz. You can have goyim buying fruits and vegetables during Pesach also, and they can have chametz on their hands. So because of that, people have a chumrah on Pesach that they will only use fruits and vegetables that they peel, and they use it. Now, according to many opinions, and this is halachically correct, again, when it comes to Pesach, everybody does what they want. But according to many opinions, and there's a very strong basis in halacha, that if you cook before Pesach, I mean, even up to Erev Pesach in the morning, if you cook before Pesach, you don't have to peel the fruits and vegetables. I'm just giving these options. I'm not saying you should, shouldn't. I'm just saying, according to many, many opinions, in fact, technically all opinions, halachically I'm saying, that if you cook before Pesach, then you don't have to peel the fruit. Like if you're making applesauce or sorbet or whatever, strawberries, whatever, and you're making dishes before Pesach, so even people that will not use anything during Pesach that's not peelable, Before Pesach, they'll do it. Again, you don't know if you should do it or not. Speak to your local mashpia. Same thing with fruits, and people will be careful when they peel fruits on Pesach. They'll peel it straight over the garbage, or they'll peel it straight onto a napkin, and then they'll throw out the napkin right away. Not same thing with eggs. Many people are machmed that when they eat eggs on Pesach, they're strict. They'll peel it directly over the garbage can, or they'll put it into a napkin and immediately throw it. In fact, many people have a custom on Pesach. They will have a special egg pot that they only cook eggs into. It's brought down in Poskim. They will all have an egg pot that they only cook eggs in it for Pesach. Because again, we don't know what's on this peel, what's on the shell, what's washed or not washed, and things like that. Vinegar must have a hechsher for Pesach. Okay. All bottled water or the sparklers, the Arrowhead, all plain unflavored bottled waters are 100% good for Pesach. All water filters are good for Pesach. Okay, that's as far as the alphabetical list of practical things. By the way, nail polish remover is all good. I'm just going through. There's a lot of, people need to know with painkillers and not going, there's too many of these. You can go online in all these places, you could see which one. Like Advil, if it's not coated, the Tylenol tablets are good. Tylenol liquid is good. Motrin is good. Okay, I'm going to go now to some of the questions that I didn't get to. So, did you say almond milk is kidneys? Does it apply even if it has an OUP? Okay, what's interesting now, because the kashrus organizations actually never gave, years ago, they never gave a hechsher on kidneys because the majority of people are Ashkenazi. Now, in America, there's a large population of Sephardic Jews. So, like you write here, almond milk original kidneys to be used only for usage of kids. He doesn't seem to imply here in this list, at least, that there's an OUP. If it has OUP, again, it might be kidneys, it might be legumes that only Sephardic Jews would be allowed to. What about seltzer? So again, seltzer, they write, certain things I didn't mention for a reason. They write like this: any unflavored seltzer, if there's no citrates listed in the ingredients. If it's flavored, then it must have a hechsher for Pesach. Is daikon radish okay? Anything that's called radish or the radish family, we don't use on Pesach. Our K-cups or carrot, you're talking about the coffee ones, I don't know. I don't see it on the list. We use soap to wash hands. Yes, we can use soap to wash our hands. You can use bars of soap. Most of the liquid soap, even the ones that you use body washes, like the Dial and the Ivory and all that, is good. The ones that have an OU for the dishes for sure are good without any issue. Is it okay to buy nuts in a kosher market where guys should work at packing, or is it better to buy Costco plain almonds that are sealed properly? Doesn't matter. Is Costco water okay? To my understanding, it's okay unless there's something added into the water. One year it wasn't about Pesach. One year a rumor went around that in the bottled water they add a little bit of milk. And then they found out there was a bubba mice. It wasn't true. But every year people like to come up with, issue like that. It says in these lists, all fresh disposable bottles, spring or distilled without flavoring is good. Now, if the Costco has it, whatever. Can you buy eggs in a non-kosher store during Pesach? Yes, if you find out from them that the eggs were laid before Pesach. Now, a lot of times they're not going to know. Okay? But you can ask the store, when did you get these eggs in? If the store tells you they got the eggs in before Pesach, then you could buy during Pesach. The only problem with buying eggs during Pesach, again, the issue is, were they laid during Pesach? If they were laid during Pesach, then you can't use them. 1 second. Can use fresh ginger root. Again, according to Chabad custom, we don't use ginger. In fact, many people used to put cinnamon and ginger into the chareses. And the Rebbe writes in the Haggadah that for many years we don't use ginger or cinnamon because of the fear of chametz. And the bottom line is the Rebbe writes we don't use it. So ginger root is the same thing. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, we have what to do, but let me see what issues. I'll give you an example with Tums and Rolaids. They're both kidney. First of all, Tums must have a hechsher on it. If it's not hechsher, it's trace, even year round. Rolade has a non-kosher ingredient in it. Tums is kidneys. They're both kidneys. Now, if somebody really has, again, a person who's sick, not deathly sick, a person who's sick is allowed to digest kidneys, okay? Which is, the legume families. So, what's this under? So again, they all write Tums, because years ago, Tums was even worse than it is today. Oh. Tums is like this. I'll tell you in a second, because by the way, a bunch of the Crest toothpastes are good. The Crest Plus Scope is good. The toothpaste I'm talking about. Crest for Kids is good. Crest 3D White Advanced Vivid Invigorating Mint is good. Crest Baking Soda Peroxide is good. Oh, I know what I was saying here. Okay, let me look 1 second. Antacid. Tums is kidneys. Zantac, Pepsid, Rolaids contains animal glycerin and kidneys. But again, if somebody can do without it, they really should do without these. But I mean, like Pepto-Bismol is good. It might have kidneys in it. For 1 second. Pepto-Bismol original liquid is good, and the ultra is good. It's not even kidneys, it's vegan. Okay. Now, any person that takes medications, especially if it's late already, but any person that takes medications should never stop taking medications for Pesach unless they consult a Rav. In other words, if you're talking about stam vitamins that you take, then you shouldn't take them on Pesach. If the doctor doesn't say you must take them on Pesach, you don't take them. Even prenatal vitamins, I've been told many times by doctors, a woman who's pregnant could do very well without it for 8 days. It's not something you must take every day. It's good to have a vitamin. If anything that has to do with the heart or the blood pressure or the kidneys or thyroid, any medication is forbidden to stop taking without speaking to a Rav and a doctor first. Most of the pills are not a problem because you swallow them. It's not even called eating. They might have kidneys in it, which again, you're not eating it, you're swallowing it, you're benefiting from, wouldn't be a problem. But one thing every single Rav will tell you, the medication that you're taking for heart or, serious blood pressure, heart, kidney, whatever, liver, all those things must be taken on Pesach. Okay, so now that's it for this class. Monday night mitzvah Shem 8 o'clock. Fifth of this week is Parshas Achedes Shabbos Mevarchem Nissen. Monday night will be a class on Parsha. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock next week, we're going to be in mitzvah Shem discussing the dinim of the Seder, what people must know for the Seder for men and women. And I think that would be it for until after Pesach. But until then, everybody have a great Shabbos. And we should only hear good news and everything should be great.
Amen.
All the best.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Good Shabbos.